So I'm very glad to begin a new sermon series today. It is Finding Rest in God, and we will be reading Psalms of longing and trust. Last year, we also did a Summer Psalms sermon series. I encourage you to try and say that 5 times fast. Summer Psalms sermon series, Summer Psalms sermon series. Some are down now. I really enjoyed it last summer when we journeyed through some Psalms then, and I look forward to journeying along with you this summer as well, as we focus specifically on Psalms that are about longing for safety, closeness with God, longing for a life that means something. Sometimes we feel that longing when we are in the midst of chaos. Sometimes we feel that longing when we're in the midst of gratitude. And these Psalms we will read will express all those things. But every week we will end up in the same place, the presence of God. The presence of God will be our dwelling place, our home, our refuge, the place we can always come back to for peace and stillness and rest. So today, Psalm 46 is the perfect one to start with because it highlights that before we have a longing for God, we first have a need for God inside. And this psalm expresses some deep needs. So here is a reading of Psalm 46. Hear now the word of the Lord. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." If you were following along in a Bible as I was reading, you might have noticed that, like many Psalms do, this one has an inscription before it begins. So this one says, it starts off with, "For the director of music." Okay, so it was written and then given to like a church music minister at the time. It also says, "Of the sons of Korah, according to Alamoth, a song." What in the world does that mean? Well, the sons of Korah were a group in the church that were like the identified special singers, like a special ensemble that was highly regarded. So a number of psalms in the book of Psalms will have that inscription. We ran into some last year, and you can flip through and see it in many others. Alamoth was a musical term that probably meant this psalm was written for younger, higher voices, like young tenors or sopranos, we might say. And this is the only psalm that notes it was written for this specific voice. So that means this psalm is set apart. It is set a little different, with a haunting, high, lonesome sound as it was sung. Most Bible scholars think that Psalm 46 was written at a time when the people were under serious threat. Maybe an invasion of Jerusalem, or an earthquake, or both. So the images in this psalm are not hypothetical. The earth giving way, the mountains falling into the sea, the waters roaring. That's not poetic imagery here. It's real stuff happening. And I really appreciate that this psalm doesn't pretend everything's okay in life. This psalm doesn't start out with, "I'm fine, everything's fine." No. Verse 1 says that God is an ever-present help in trouble, in times of trouble. So right from the start, this psalm acknowledges that there are times of trouble. It doesn't sugarcoat life or say that God will prevent any trouble from ever happening to us. People who say that remind me that denial ain't just a river in Egypt. You know what I mean? This psalm recognizes that there is trouble. So it can help us recognize our need for comfort through God. Too often, we think that having a strong faith means pretending everything is good all the time so that we never stop smiling because everything is great and happy. But the Bible does not support that approach. Of all the Psalms in the whole book of Psalms, a full third of them are psalms of lament, of sadness, when bad stuff was really happening in the world. So if we deny that bad stuff happened, we're just fooling ourselves and lying to others. But this psalm, it looks straight at the earthquake, straight at the flood, straight at warring nations, and says, yeah, that stuff is happening, and it is bad, but God is bigger than that. It's always tempting, though, when someone we know is hurting, to try and convince them that they shouldn't be in that much pain. And so you might hear someone say, "Oh, don't feel bad. It'll be fine. You'll see. I'm sure he will get better. There's a reason for everything." Or you might hear, "Oh, God must have wanted him home, so he's in a better place. Don't be sad." None of that actually helps anybody feel better on the inside. It just encourages more denial. Like in the book of Job, when tragedy struck Job's family, his friends come over to try and comfort him. And each of Job's friends take turns trying to convince him that he shouldn't be too sad. It's not as terrible as he thinks, losing all his children. So, of course, in the book, Job got really, really mad at all of his friends for saying that. Then at the end of the book, God shows up and says that none of them knew what they were talking about. So, we don't want to be like that. We don't want God to show up and say, "You don't know what you're talking about." It doesn't comfort anyone to say that their sadness isn't really that bad, or that they shouldn't feel so sad. Unfortunately, we can't take away people's pain and sadness with magic words. If I had a magic wand that could do that, I would use it all the time. on everyone I love to take their pain away. But we don't have one of those, and it frustrates us. But in times of loss, in trouble and challenge, it's really sad. To pretend otherwise doesn't do justice to the pain we are feeling or the love that we lost. So it's not only a fake comfort, it's a denial of the love that was there. So let's not do that. Instead, real comfort comes in presence. Being present with someone and helping them feel God's presence too. God is with them. God is with us. And that is what this psalm reminds us of. In talking about storms in life, this psalm does not say, "What storm? There's no storm. Everything's fine." Or, "Oh, those storms don't seem that bad." What the psalm is saying is, this is a really tough storm, but God is with us, and God can be your refuge in the midst of this storm and hardship. Now, when you look at this psalm, you start to see a bit of a rhythm. The comfort in this psalm is in a rhythm. The psalm mentions something chaotic, and then it gives comfort. Then it mentions something else chaotic, and then it gives comfort by saying, "The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." Then it mentions even bigger chaos, and then it reminds us again, "The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." Don't forget. It's an echo. It's like the psalm is teaching us what to do when it feels like our world is shaking. You can't stop an earthquake or a flood, but you can find an anchor point. Whenever things start to shake, you can go back to this anchor point and keep repeating, "The Lord Almighty is with us." Let the repetition, the echo, hold you down in the midst of the storm. So I encourage you to practice that in prayer on normal days. It's a little easier on normal days. So practice it then so it becomes second nature. And you can do it automatically on the hard days. Years ago, when I was taking martial arts, the first thing that the instructor taught us was just the basic moves. And we would practice them every single time. Eventually, the instructor would teach us new martial arts defense techniques, and we would start practicing the new ones, but we always practiced the basics, the foundation, every single time, every class session, over and over again. He said it was to make those movements ingrained. So if we ever needed to use them, they would just come automatically and naturally. We practiced them over and over again in normal class session days so that we would develop that muscle memory to form that natural reaction if a tough moment ever reared its head. And that's the same principle in this psalm. There's an earthquake. The Lord Almighty is with me. Countries keep attacking each other. The Lord Almighty is with me. So practice that prayer technique all the time on normal days so that when chaos happens and it feels like the ground is shaking or falling under your feet, you go right to it. The Lord Almighty is with me. I am one with the Lord, and the Lord is with me. When we can say those things and repeat them, even in times of trouble, it is only then that we are able to follow the instruction the Lord gives us in verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. A wonderful thing to do. So what does it look like? What kind of stillness are we talking about here? Well, this is an intentional stillness. It is intentionally slowing down from all of our hurry and hustle and bustle, and just resting in a stillness. It doesn't mean that chaos isn't happening in the world around us. We have just recognized what our limits are. We can't stop earthquakes. And God is the Lord of all, not us. So we don't have to run ourselves ragged trying to control everything. But instead, we should be still. In the original Hebrew, it carries the sense of letting your hands drop or stop overworking, to let go. It's a kind of stillness that's not like a really relaxing spa day or something. It's not like just taking a nap on a lazy Sunday. It's like when you've been fighting really hard in a boxing match, and then you tag in your partner, the Lord, so that your partner can do the work. You can take a break and just be still from all the struggle. It's us not trying to fix everything anymore or everyone. It's letting God be the Lord of all instead of us trying to be. Be still. It's the stillness of someone admitting, I can't hold everything together by myself, and letting go. No more trying to keep all the plates spinning in life, frantically trying to keep everything in the air at once. It's not doing that anymore. Now, yes, when you stop trying to keep the plates spinning, some might end up falling, but at least you won't, because you will have made God your refuge. It's like Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, can any of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble on its own. Instead, be still. Be still and remember that God is there with us. Be still and remember that God is with you. So who is the you here? Well, what else does verse 10 say? God will be exalted among the nations in all the earth. So the you is you individually, but also you everybody. It's a you plural. It's a youans. It's a y'all. It's a all y'all is who this verse is talking to. It's a command for stillness that spans from one person unable to sleep at night because of anxiety, all the way to warring nations of the earth that launch missiles at people. Be still is a command spoken to the storms and chaos of life at every level. It's God saying, stop fighting. Put your weapons down, because I am still God over all the earth. So be still. God says it to nations at war and to people under stress. God says it to the world and says it to each of you. Be still. Notice God doesn't say, Don't worry, because everything will happen exactly the way you want it to. No, just be still and know that I am God, and that's enough. It's easy to see the news and think that the whole world is falling apart all the time. In the past, before the internet and 24-hour news, we never heard about all of the bad stuff happening in every town and every state and every country everywhere. So back in the day, the world felt a little more okay and settled. But now we're flooded with all the bad news from every corner of the earth, and it can be overwhelming. And we might think, surely this is the end times. But actually, it's just the normal times, since that has been happening forever. That's the sad part, because it's the way of the world. It always has been to attack, to fight, to start wars, just so that they can take more stuff and have more power. But this psalm says it's the way of God to put a stop to all of that and work against those agendas, to prevent them by destroying all the weapons, this psalm said. It made me think it would be interesting if we could walk around the city of God, the most holy place where the Most High dwells, that this psalm mentioned. What if we could walk around that city and wander into the administrative building in that city and just see what the city's budget is? And you can notice that there's nothing in the budget for fights or weapons or wars. Instead, this holy city has budget items for destroying weapons. It has different line items for breaking the bow, X amount of dollars, shattering spears, and community shield burning initiatives. Perhaps. Maybe so. Because that's what the Lord is working on, it says. Working to make wars cease. Psalm 46 has been described as, wait for it, a hurricane psalm, because it's written from inside a storm, not from a calm weather report later. This isn't a psalm for when life is going easy. This is a psalm for when life is hard or scary or uncertain. So here's what I want you to do because of this psalm. Whenever life starts shaking, and it will feel shaky at some point, first, name the chaos or the trouble, just like this psalm does. Don't pretend it's not there. This psalm didn't pretend, and neither should you. But say it out loud to God and to others. Say, this is hard. This is scary. Life feels really shaky right now. And then go back to that refrain, the Lord Almighty is with me, so that you can say it when the anxiety gets high. Say it when the stress starts back up again. And let this psalm speak to you. Use its refrain and follow its instruction to be still and know that God is God. Those aren't easy things to do, to be still in the midst of chaos and trouble. Most of the time, when there is a storm in life, people panic, and they want you to panic with them. If they are worried or freaking out, and you're not, they'll probably get mad at you. Peace is a bold attitude to have in the face of anxiety. And just like Jesus' disciples said to him when they were surrounded by a storm, "Don't you care? Don't you care if bad things happen? He did, of course. And of course, you do too. But freaking out won't help anything. Being still in the midst of the storm will. It will help everyone breathe a little slower and think a little clearer. And it will help you get to that amazing place of saying, despite this trouble or sadness that I'm in, it is still well with my soul. It is well. Because here's the good news. The mountains can fall into the sea. The nations can rage. Your whole world can shake. But none of that changes the fact that God can always be our refuge, our strength, a constant help, not a distant help, not a someday help if things get bad, but an ever-present, always help in the here and now, in the middle of whatever is shaking your life today. So be still and know. That's it. That is God's invitation this morning, to let go of what you can't hold together anyway. Let God be God and find rest in that truth. Let us pray. Oh God, we confess that in our anxiety, we have tried to control the world, to make it look the way we want it to. We have run ourselves ragged, trying to force everything to be better or different or easier. We are in dire need of your holy stillness. So please, God, please remind us that you are with us on good days and hard days, that you are an ever-present help in times of trouble. And remind us, especially during those times, to be still and know that you are there and that you are the Lord of all. Amen.